Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
We're so thrilled to have on the show an incredible saxophonist, huge base of TikTok fans, 271,000, the one and only Chris Mitchell.
What's going on, man?
Thanks for coming on the show,
Thanks
Chris.
for having me. Lovely being here in Nashville. It's been a while, but I'm back.
Well, I'll tell you what, and we're glad you're back, and your music is just incredible, and your fan base you've grown, and you got a new album out now. And I got to make sure I say it right because we're on TV. It is Saxy Squad.
It is the Saxy Squad. It's the A, not the E. It's the Saxy Squad.
Right.
That's my community, man, on TikTok. So
Yeah, you've got a predominantly female fan base.
yeah, they call me their boyfriend.
Yeah.
On TikTok, like TikTok's boyfriend. Now I am committed, by the way.
Yeah, it's only virtual.
So it's just a virtual boyfriend.
Yeah, so we're okay with that. Well, and you got a few other fans too. I mean, I got to bring up Cedric the Entertainer. Sent you a video about it, enjoying your music. Howie Mandel.
Yeah, he's a fan too. I didn't even know Howie was watching me. Like when you look at the video, he's like, "Oh, I watch you every day," and I'm like, "Doing what?" Like sometimes I'm playing, sometimes I'm not. But I don't know if he has like an account that is like a dummy account where he's not really coming in as Howie, he's coming in as someone else. Because I'm pretty sure if Howie Mandel came across, I'll stop playing, going, "Hey, we got Howie in the room," or whatnot. But that's probably why he got this dummy account, so I can just continue playing.
Right. Yeah, so it doesn't throw, it's like,
Yeah.
but I got to bring this up too. I first became aware of you back when you played the Grammys.
Oh, yeah.
And that wasn't a bad deal. I mean, you played the Grammys twice. And, you just keep exploding, and you're doing all this work by yourself, Chris. How are you doing this?
So, man, to be honest with you, well, first, God first, that's how I'm getting it done. Secondly, I just have a strong family that believes in me, friends, loved ones that believe in me. I believe in myself. I've risked a lot. I mean, like I told you when we were in the office, that I risked a lot when it came to trying to make it to this level that I am today. Starting from literally like nothing. They started from the bottom, now we're here. Mike know about that. Matt knows about that. But it took a while to get here, and to be here now, I've learned how to maintain it and to employ the certain people I need to help me achieve certain goals.
Well, you come from a very large musical family, and so everybody in the family plays music, but you're the only one that has pursued it as a career, as the baby of the family.
I'm the baby. I'm the baby of the family.
And then you kind of figured this whole thing out, like I was saying about your TikTok fan base. You're doing music videos all over the world. Like you've shot videos in Dubai, in Madrid, everywhere you go.
It's been fun. I mean, we came up with the concept by watching people that enjoy me traveling when I'm posting, like in my stories of being in the airport, going to this next place, and then I get to the next place, I'm showing the food I eat, or just things like that. So people were like, "All right, we want to see like this city, this country. We know you play saxophone, but we want to see Madrid."
Amazing saxophone.
Yeah, we want to see Madrid. So I set up the first video shoot, and the videographer, she said, her name is Anthea, and she's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to be the center of the music video, obviously, but I want to complement the beauty of the culture that it's of Madrid." And she's like, "So you want to kind of shoot like people smiling, laughing?" And I was like, yeah, now. Yeah.
How incredible, because what you figured out too, Chris, I think, once again, you're an innovator, and I mean, you've got a college degree, you're using your degree and your music skills all together, but instead of doing like long form videos, you're doing short form because that's what your fans want.
That's their attention span. I mean, in today's time, we are watching 15-second stories, and we're watching 30 seconds shorts on YouTube, or 60-second shorts on YouTube. So people's attention span it's hard. When you're looking at the analytics, you see the retention rate is starting to drop around 3 seconds, sometimes 2 seconds, right? So you got to capture their attention like this.
Right.
And I know that's critical because even when I watch a YouTube video, I can't wait to skip the 6-second ad. Like I can't, as soon as it says skip ad, I'm tapping it.
What did it feel like last year whenever TikTok reached out to you, and now you're one of the highest paid TikTok musicians? What did that feel like? Do you feel like you're starting to arrive?
I do. I mean, I feel I'm starting to arrive to a level of success with TikTok, but I really felt that way when we just built this relationship, myself and the company, that, hey, we want to feature you. We want it to be all about you. It's all about the creators on this platform. That's why this platform is the way it is. And for me, when they call me the old head, okay,
No. Still a
36,
young
by
man.
the way.
Still a young man.
So they wanted to highlight me, so they featured me on success stories on their TikTok business. They put me on their .com. I mean, it's like working with TikTok has been just an amazing privilege. So I'm forever honored.
Well, you know, and Forbes is looking at covering you too in your incredible story.
I mean, you know, we pitched it to them, so hopefully they pick it up. If they do, I got a lot more to say.
Well, you know, and you and I were talking too before we came in studio, Chris, to where you started performing on the street, like 7 days a week performing on the street before you turned this into a music business, an empire, to where you're able to, you've done 3 world tours now.
Yeah, I started 7 days a week. I just graduated from Sam Houston State University, general business and marketing degree. Couldn't find a job when I graduated in 2009, and you know, the recession was still kind of lingering around, and it was hitting really hard. And you know, I had 2 jobs during that time, actually, between 2009 and 2011. I worked at a car dealership for 6 days, yeah, and I worked at a clothing store for 3 weeks, but they were both, you know, like the temp jobs. I couldn't find anything else. I sent out 10 resumes a day, and that was my goal to do every day, because you know, they had Indeed.com, I believe, where you can like submit your resume by just like 1 click or something like that. And I was doing 10 a day. I couldn't get no calls. Wow. So one day, my other friend Shola, that plays saxophone, he says, "Hey, let's go out to this town square and just start practicing in front of people. You know, let's go do it." Me, I was like, "Oh, I'm not really up to it." So we go out to the town square, and he starts playing, and I started playing too, and the people started listening. There was this guy sitting at this restaurant, which was like in the perfect spot. Like when you come out of the main garage, you have to see him. Like he's the first thing you see.
Right.
He's the music you hear in the garage when you're parking because of his speaker. So I walk up to him, I say, "Hey man, your tip jar is looking pretty empty. If we play together, maybe we can put some more tips in there." Now, his name is Toga, who's my guitarist now. Yeah, he didn't know any English at the time. He's from Istanbul, Turkey. And he'd kill me if I was telling the story. He didn't know any English, so everything he said was okay. That was his thing, okay. He plays the guitar. I said, "Hey, we make more tips. We can share them out." He was like, "Okay." So we started playing. We started playing at 2 p.m. and then we went to 10 p.m.
Right.
And he wasn't playing for 8 hours. He would normally do 2 or 3 hours. But it was getting so good, we're making the tips. And when I say good, I mean like we were making like $12, $15. That was good. It's good when you broke, okay?
Right. Yeah,
you got
money's
$0.
money.
You got $0. Like $15 is a lot of money.
Right.
So we were playing 7 days a week. We did it for 9.5 months. Now, why did we do it up until 9.5 months? I hope I'm not talking too much.
Not at all.
But we did it for 9.5 months because we created this album within that 9.5 months. And we put all the songs that people requested, going back to Saxy Squad.
Right.
We put all the songs that people requested on that CD, and we just wanted to make some extra tips.
Yeah.
So we go to my friend's garage. He has a studio in his garage. It was like a small. It didn't look like this. Like, tell you that. Like, so it was one little startup because you know everything starts in the garage first,
Totally.
right? You know,
The best stuff does.
Apple, you know, starts in the garage. So we're in the garage. He has sheets up everywhere, and I mean, it's just one of those studios where you're like, I don't really know. It's like an unreliable car. So we're in the studio, and we start recording these songs, and we put them on a CD, and we wrote Toga and Chris on the CD, and we go back to the sidewalk, and you know, Toga's giving his away. These are not free. I'm selling mine. I'm trying to get off the sidewalk.
You are the entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'm trying to get off the sidewalk.
Right.
So I'm selling mine $5, and we started selling quite a bit. And so now, like, you know, my wheels are spinning in my head. So I'm like, you know, iTunes is a thing now. This is 2011. So I'm like,
Right.
iTunes is a thing. We should find out how to get on iTunes. And he's, okay. So I go back and do some research. We go through what was new at the time called CD Baby. And we sign up on CD Baby, and because you couldn't go directly through iTunes, so
Right.
you had to go through a third party. We sign up on CD Baby. I put the album on there, and they come to a date of release, but you got to finalize it before you click that release button.
Yeah.
So I get with Toga, and I say, hey, we're gonna have to come up with an actual name for this album, because I don't think it's gonna sell well with just Toga and Chris on it, right? Like, you know, you go and search Toga and Chris.
Right.
I don't think that's going to
It
work.
sounds like a show.
It sounds like a show, right? We go back out to the sidewalk because we're still there within the 9.5 months. And we're playing, and I just happen to look at the sign of the restaurant in front of us. I say, you know, we should call it Turquoise, right? And he goes, okay. So we called it Turquoise. 2.5 months after it went on iTunes, it became one of the highest rated Latin jazz albums for that week.
That's amazing.
It was even more amazing because it wasn't mixed and mastered professionally, which is crazy to
But still, the music shines through. It's like I was telling you, listening to your music, and I've been a fan of it because I just love the way you play and the emotion you put into it, but great music shines through.
Thank you.
And I mean, and what you're doing. And I got to bring this up, and I don't want to embarrass you,
Go ahead.
but I know that in between doing the Saxy squad,
Yeah.
and that is Saxy,
Saxy.
is that working on your original album.
Working on my original album.
That's going to come out this year, maybe next.
Most definitely, if it's not the end of this year, then it'll be next year. I mean, working on an original album is very difficult.
And
know?
you stopped down the original album
Yes.
just to keep your fans happy.
Yes, because so this thing with TikTok, can I tell you I just joined social media like 2 years ago. Like I had accounts and I
And
was
now you
barely
own it.
post. Yeah, see, I'm trying to own it now. So I had other accounts, but I wasn't really spending too much time on social media like that. So, you know, what I've noticed when going live, people from around the world are just commenting like it's
Right.
going fast. It's kind of hard to gauge and read through thoroughly. So I see one comment going, "Hey, we love your music. Could you put some of this music, you know, on iTunes or something, Apple Music or something?" And I see I'm old, so people don't say iTunes no more. They say Apple Music.
Right, right.
That's showing my age. Spotify, you know. So,
Yeah.
all right. So they were like, you gotta record these songs and put them out. I said, all right. What would y'all like me make an album or something? I said, comment the saxophone emoji if you want to make an album. So there were like 1,000 comments going on, right?
Wow.
And I was like, I gotta go to the studio.
And there's so many great songs, because I was going to ask you how you selected the songs too,
Yeah.
because my favorites that I told you about are also the main top listening and selling songs on there.
I selected them by the highest view count on the videos on the page.
So smart.
Yeah, so I did a survey with the fans. I said, hey, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down for this video, thumbs up, thumbs down. We went through, 20 or 30 videos I had, and they got it down to 8. So I was like, all right, well, eight videos, 8 songs, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right? So I go to the studio, I'm going live. While I was in the studio, we're recording the album, so they only heard me performing because, I'm in the booth, you can't really hear anyone else.
Yeah.
But they saw me making the album, right? And then so I said, all right, this is actually getting pretty good, because it turned out well, actually, because my band couldn't make some of the sessions that we were recording. It was just my pianist. So we started listening to the first song, and we were like, this actually sounds pretty good with just sax and piano.
I thought the same thing, just stripped down.
Yeah, it's just stripped down. I was like, this is not so bad. And then I was like, what do y'all think? And they were like, we love it. And I was on the live. So we just kept going. And so we got halfway through it, and I said, well, this album was supposed to be just for y'all, but this is actually pretty good. I think I'm gonna put this on Apple Music, So we put it on Apple Music, and here we are now. Now they were like, you gotta make some music videos. They're directing my career now. At this point, I thought I was good at it.
And they're not doing a bad job.
I'm not doing a bad job. I thought I was good at it, but maybe not. So they're like, hey, you gotta shoot some music videos for this album. I'm like, all right, look. So what am I supposed to do? Shut down my concert tour? And everyone was like, yeah. And I was like, oh. All right. So the last concert was in Jacksonville, Florida, last year in May.
Right.
So I shut the rest of the tour down. We weren't gonna do it. So I had to focus solely on the content. Wow. I focused solely on the content.
Ton of content.
Yeah. And then here we are this year I'm only scheduled for 2 appearances, but I'm gonna start the world tour next year. Though.
Right.
So I'm gonna do 2 concerts this year.
Well, and I got to bring up too, the hit songs that are making the biggest splash right now: 1,000 Years, Beauty and the Beast, and Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Right?
Yeah. 1,000 Years is Christina Perri. A lot of people know her from Twilight. He watches Twilight. He looks like
And my daughter does.
Yeah, he watches
Yeah.
Twilight. And Beauty and the Beast, I mean, what can we say? My favorite version is, P.B. Bryson.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Celine.
Oh, so good.
But everyone's made their own versions are beautiful. Can You Feel the Love Tonight? I mean, what do we have to say about Elton John?
Right.
I mean, come on. So to pay respect to them and their team, it was amazing recording my version of it, and maybe someday they'll see it. So Elton, if you're watching, go check out Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you know, and I've got to bring up too, you know, obviously self-taught, started playing saxophone at 12 years old. And your major influence that you would listen to all the time and then copy was Kenny G.
It's Kenny G. So, all right, let me tell you how why I chose saxophone. I was playing tuba at first, and then I was playing baritone.
Wow.
Right, but it was too big to drag that thing home.
Oh, yeah.
That's what she said. and then should be the best interview you ever had. So you had this huge case and it got wheels on it. And you gotta drag it home. And I was boxing at the time, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I was a boxer, so I was boxing at a very young age, and I was tired after these practices, you know, and training, and I had band practice after that. I gotta drag this thing home, or band practice before, and I'm dragging this home and then going to boxing practice. My friend, he played tuba, and he was in football at the time. So we just had like a friendship, man. We were like real cool, and so we both joined the after school band at the time, because we were just doing it just like for, what do you call it?
Well, extra credit?
Extra credit, you know. And we just, you know, just buying some time until we go to PE or something like that, right? We didn't want to take this seriously. I mean, I didn't think of a career with tuba. So, so there was this girl, of course, there was a girl in the story. There was a girl playing the clarinet in the band class. And I'll never forget her name. Her name was Adriana, that was her name. And Adriana Mendez, by the way. And she was playing this clarinet, and I didn't know how to really approach girls at 12. I mean, I'm 12, right?
Yeah.
You know, but I know if I think of a girl is cute or not, right? So I go to the band director. I say, why is she sitting over there, like with the other instruments that play like the high notes? Because I didn't know what a saxophone, what it looked like. I never heard of a saxophone. And then why are we over here? He was like, that's the woodwind. This is the brass. Okay. My head, I got to get in the woodwind somehow. So leave band rehearsal. There's this guy playing this instrument in the rehearsal room. And I saw it sounded good. It was amazing. So I go in the rehearsal room, or I open the door, and I say, hey, what is that you're playing? He goes, it's tenor saxophone. I say, man, that sounds sweet. That's in the woodwind? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I got to play that one. That's the one I got to play. I go home and tell my mother I want to play saxophone. She's like, why? Your other brothers play guitar, keyboard, they sing, they play drums, they do, my oldest sister was clarinet. And I was like, yeah. So God didn't bless me with the voice. I didn't get the drum. I didn't get the keyboard. I got to do something else, obviously. I didn't get the bass guitar, the lead guitar. She was like, all right, well, saxophone it is. Cool. So I get the saxophone, and all I need to do is just, you know, get to the girl somehow.
And you're jumping from bass clef to treble clef.
Yeah. You know, I'm very loyal, by the way. So, bass and treble, and I'm in the class now. I'm in woodwind, and she's up there playing her clarinet. But now it's getting difficult because now we got to take tests. I didn't prepare for all this. I just wanted to get the instrument and be in the class so I can talk to her.
Right.
So I go home and I got to learn how to play saxophone now. All right. So my sister had these Kenny G CDs, and she's like, he's a phenomenal sax player, and she's like, I love him so much. I mean, he has this album called Breathless. You got to listen to it. I'm 12. You know, I'm growing up in the 90s. I'm trying to listen to Biggie and Tupac. You know, it was 1998. So, post their death. But I was like, you know, this is Busta Rhymes is out here and everybody else. You know, it was the 90s. 90s R&B, 90s rock.
Great music.
Everything else aside from jazz is happening right now. You know, in the 90s, which really contributed to Kenny's career, I believe. Come to find out, every woman in America in the 90s had a Kenny G album at some point. Right? Right. And so I put his CDs in a CD player and just started trying to emulate the sounds I was hearing. And none of it made sense, but it felt easy because I've been around music before. I knew that this note matched with this note. I didn't know the key changes. I didn't know the scales, but I knew what sounded good. And I started learning how to play these songs. But then I go outside because that's what kids did in the 90s. By the way, for all the 2020-year-olds. So we played outside.
Yes,
okay?
Not stayed on our phones.
Not outside. We didn't have social media. We had CDs. CDs are compact discs,
Like small records.
small cassette tapes. But anywho, but that's how I learned how to play. And that was my interest of getting into saxophone and
Yeah.
then Kenny G essentially teaching me, so to speak.
Well,
how to
and you play an incredible Selmer now.
Yeah.
That is not your average Selmer. In fact, they don't even make it anymore.
Nope, 1957, which is the exact instrument Kenny plays for soprano.
Which would be great to have a signature model for you now.
It would be nice.
Yeah, I'm just
it would-
saying, maybe the reeds and the whole thing with
Yeah.
you on tour. And I got to bring up too,
Yes, sir.
you're going on tour to London and Portugal also.
Yeah, I am. It's quite a bit of places. I'm going to be in Denver. All these, most of these are content tours, right? So I'm shooting videos in different places, showing people the lifestyles of, you know, the culture around the world. So we got Denver. I just did LA yesterday. I got Prague coming up, and then I have Amsterdam, and we have Paris, London, and Manchester. So I'm looking forward to those because there's a lot of people that want to travel and see the world, but
Right.
you know they may be confined to having their situations that
Yeah.
have to be here in the States or be wherever they are,
And they can do it through you
and they can live vicariously through
and
me.
with great music.
And with great music. Yeah.
Well, I want to make sure for our viewers that they know where to go for your website, obviously your TikTok, everything about Chris Mitchell. They need to add this album to their playlist and be ready for the new original album coming
You
out.
got to be ready for that.
So where do our viewers need to go?
Chris Mitchell Jazz, everything. Everything online is very easy. I got one name for everything. Chris Mitchell Jazz. That's it.
And there's going to be more concerts, more tours,
More concert, more tours, more music,
more merch.
more merch, you know, more me.
Yeah, including the cool scarf you're going to have, maybe a saxophone scarf.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking about that.
I'm just
Shout
telling
out to Haley Genevieve, by the way. She's been my stylist and she's been creating my merch. She works very closely with a lot of big brands, and I don't want to name the brands, but a lot of huge brands that
Yeah.
were involved in Fashion Week. So
You mean like TikTok that you work with?
Yeah.
How you like I slid that in?
Hey, yeah, I like the segue. You're really good at segues. I like
Well, I'll
that.
tell you what, you got to add it to your playlist, however you take in the music, and I'm hoping more of this is going to come out on vinyl because this music deserves vinyl. Saxy Squad is out now. There's going to be a new album of originals, but you got to see this guy live. Follow him on TikTok. You are so just a crazy great musician, Chris Mitchell.
Thank you.
And I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And with the short videos, and you're bringing in incredible music and bringing in a new audience all the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love it. So more to come.
I'll tell you what, follow Chris Mitchell, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.